What is on tap for this episode of Kuz's Corner? We're talking conference realignment, we're talking Big 12 expansion, and we're talking potential expansion candidates for the Big 12 to consider. So sit back, relax, and let me serve you up this shot of top shelf college sports content. Let's go. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Kuz, and welcome in to yet another edition of Kuz's Corner. So pull up that chair and drop a comment below and let me know what you think about today's topic, which is the UConn Huskies, and would they be a good candidate to add to the Big 12? Now, I know you're laughing right now. I can see it in your face. I can hear it even through this screen. You're laughing hysterically because you think this is one of the dumbest ideas you've ever heard. But I'm asking you to please hear me out. I'm going to look at everything, not just football, but I'm looking at market size. I'm looking at geography. I'm looking at brand. I'm looking at academics. I'm looking at everything. Okay? So hear me out. And then at the end, I'll give you the pros and cons. And then I'll tell you my opinion. First, I'm going to show you a spreadsheet comparing UConn to the rest of the Big 12 in a couple key categories. First, let's look at average academic rank. Now, I took the average of the U.S. News and World Report and Wall Street Journal rankings and added and did an average of that. UConn is 83. They have an average of 83, which would by far be the biggest in the Big 12 conference, the best ranking in the Big 12 conference. The Big 12 average is 217 ranking. So, like I said, it blows that out of the water. Did you look at average TV viewers per week? I did not have this information available for UConn. I got this information from Mr. Tony Altamore, who most of you probably know. He's been on my show before, does a lot of data analysis when it comes to college football realignment, and has been on just about every college football podcast there is, especially that covers the Big 12. Don't have the data there. But let's look at average fan base size rank. UConn, average fan base size rank of 51st in the country. So they're right around a top 50 fan base based on this data. Now, there are some data sets I've looked at that actually have them as the number 42 ranked fan base size in the country. So, according to some, they are a top 50 fan base. And then the average in the Big 12, like I said, would be 55th. And then when you look at how they stack up with the other teams, they would be the 5th largest fan base in the Big 12 behind West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and BYU. And then you look at the football 5-year ranking, this is where UConn would fall short, and that is they are 121st in the country. And they would be the 2nd worst in the Big 12 behind Kansas in that ranking. However, overall, they would be a worse program than Kansas because when you look at the number of weeks they've been ranked in the AP poll and talent points based on the talent level of the team, they fall even behind Kansas in those categories. I'm going to put the heat map up on the screen for you, and you can see that data down that I'm speaking about down on the bottom, near the bottom left of your screen there in the football team rankings. But the one place UConn does excel, as we all know, is on the basketball court, both men's and women's. But when you look at men's basketball, 10-year basketball program ranking, they are number 16 in the country and would be 2nd in the Big 12 conference behind only Kansas, who is number 3. So they would drastically improve the basketball brand. And we all know the Big 12's basketball brand is already strong, and most experts consider it the best basketball league in the country. UConn would make it even stronger. So now let's look specifically at the pros and cons of adding a UConn to the Big 12. The number one pro, obviously academics. It would drastically improve the academic standing of the Big 12 conference overall. How much does that move the needle? I don't know. In past conference realignment discussions, it's meaned a lot. And to some conferences, it still does. How much would it mean to the Big 12? Honestly, probably not very much because that's just not their focus. Another pro, it would be the 3rd largest TV market in the league behind the Dallas-Fort Worth market, where TCU is, and behind the Houston market. Within a 50-mile radius of Storrs, Connecticut, where the university is over 3 million people. They are within 100 miles of Boston, Massachusetts, so I'm sure there's probably a lot of UConn fans in the Boston area. So we could capture a pretty decent portion of that Northeast market by adding UConn. That Northeast market is the 3rd pro I have. During Big 12 Media Days, which was today, July 13th, new Commissioner Brett Yormark said in his statements that he wants to make the Big 12 a national brand. One way you do that, you have a coast-to-coast conference. You can do that by adding a team like UConn who's on the East Coast. So that would help that in that goal in that regard. Obviously, the basketball strength would be great, but it'd be the second best program in the league, and the fan base size would fit right in with the Big 12. Would be a nice size fan base to add to your league, to add a lot, hopefully add a lot of eyeballs to the television sets. Now let's look at the cons. Now there are not as many cons, but they're big ones in my opinion. Number one, obviously the football. They're absolutely terrible in football right now, arguably the worst in the country. They have hired Jim Moore Jr. to be their coach, and he does have plans of building the program and making them a Power 5 worthy program, and actually has a goal of getting them into the ACC. And he's actually telling recruits that, according to reports, that, hey, we're going to be in the ACC eventually. So, and Jim Moore has NFL coaching experience. He had a few good years coaching at UCLA. So he might be the guy that can turn this football program around and get them back into the national spotlight like they were back in 2010, 2011 timeframe when they actually played in a BCS bowl game. Geographics. Obviously, they're not a geographic fit. The only school they would be somewhat close to would be West Virginia. As a West Virginia fan, I would like to have Connecticut in the league because it gives us another regional game. The teams wouldn't have to travel as far. They're about 500 miles from Morgantown to Stores. So it would be a really quick plane flight over there and would be the second closest team in the conference to us besides Cincinnati. However, they're not close to anybody else, not even Cincinnati. Cincinnati is actually closer to Manhattan, Kansas than it is Stores, Connecticut. So it wouldn't really help Cincinnati either in that regard, and it definitely wouldn't help UCF, and by no means would it help BYU, and it really wouldn't help the teams in Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas either. So geographically, the only team they really are fit for is West Virginia. So for the benefit of the entire conference, I don't think geographics work here. Now, we all know geography probably doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, as was made obvious by the USC-UCLA move. But in this video and for the criteria I'm looking at, they're not a fit. And then the last but not least is culturally. I don't think Connecticut would be a cultural fit, not only from a university perspective, but more so from a fan base perspective. The fans in the northeastern part of the country are likely to lean more left in their political and social ideologies, more so than most fan bases that are in the Big 12. So I just don't think culturally Connecticut will be a fit. When I see Connecticut, to me, the Connecticut brand and that Connecticut logo, to me, screams ACC. You've already got Boston College. You've already got Syracuse. You've got teams like that. And to me, they are just a natural fit in the ACC. And matter of fact, I've got the heat map of the ACC compared to Connecticut. West Virginia is actually on here too, just to show you how the two would fare and would compare in the ACC. But as you can see, by looking at this heat map, UConn is actually a pretty good fit in the ACC. They fit academically. They fit, I think, from a market perspective. They would be a fairly large market. Would be one of the largest markets in the ACC. The only thing they don't really fit would be football. They fit everywhere else. They fit culturally. They fit academically. They fit from a market perspective. Obviously, they fit in basketball. If you add Connecticut in with Duke, UNC, and those strong basketball programs, it would make the ACC even better in basketball. To me, when I see UConn, I see ACC. I don't see Big 12. Now, am I sitting here saying that, hey, UConn's going to go to the ACC soon? No, I'm not. I know Jim Moore is promoting that to his recruits, and obviously that's a goal of theirs. But I think they're a ways off because they have to build their football brand up to that first. But now if UConn can get back on the map in football, because we know right now they're an independent, but if they can start being competitive in football again, then UConn will all of a sudden be a really attractive candidate for any conference, in my opinion, except maybe the Big Ten, because they don't have that AAU accreditation. But let me know in the comment section, Cougars Corner family, what do you think about UConn potentially being added on to the Big 12 and a potential Big 12 expansion candidate? Do you think they would make a good addition to the conference? Now, my personal opinion, even though there's several pros to adding them, I think the cons are much bigger because they do not bring a strong football brand to the league. Yes, they would bring a basketball brand, but I don't think the football. And I know I said they should kick the tires on bringing Gonzaga in. I said they should kick the tires. I never said they should bring them. I said they should consider it. I do think they should consider UConn. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't see the value they would bring from a financial perspective. So once I see the numbers, I might change my mind. But just looking at the data I have, and on the surface, I don't think UConn's a good addition to the conference. I also don't think Gonzaga is a good addition to the conference. For those of you who kind of wanted to rake me over the coals for my opinion in that video, I don't remember ever saying UConn should be added. I said they should consider it. And I said that new Commissioner Yormark, being a basketball guy, may consider it. I'm just throwing things out here. I'm just spitballing ideas here to see what might stick and what might sound good to you guys, my audience, and also to myself as I think through these scenarios as well. So, at the end of the day, I personally don't think UConn's a good addition to the league because they don't bring that football brand that you need. However, were they to build that up and improve that, then I would say yes, go add UConn. So let me know what your opinion is. Do you think UConn would bring any value to the Big 12, and do you think they should be considered as an expansion candidate? Mountaineer fans, let me know your thoughts. Would you like to see UConn in the Big 12 to give West Virginia another potential rival closer to home? I want to get your thoughts on it. Don't forget, guys, you have until July the 14th, which is probably today. You're probably watching this on July 14th, most of you. Today's the last day of the sale to save 15% in my merch store. Go click the link at the top of my description box to get you some merch. If you're a West Virginia fan, go to earsgear.com, get you one of these shirts on the screen along with a lot of others. Use promo code COUZ in all caps, COUZ, to get 20% off your purchase at earsgear.com. I'll also leave a link to that in the description box. Also, if you want to check the video I did about Gonzaga that I mentioned earlier in the video, you can check it out right here.